I'm in Florida. Obviously, you know that though.
Yeah, 700.
700. I got the floor plans and everything in here. So I'll send you a picture of everything.
So your mom lives in that neighborhood?
Yeah, she lives down the street.
That was a model house?
Yeah, that was a model. It's nice.
Yo, yeah, it was not the pool right off the man. Go eat your dinner and then just say, you know what, I want to go for a swim real quick.
Easy. Just keep it open too. It's crazy.
Did they have a hot tub?
Okay. My parents have a hot tub. They didn't want a pool, so they got a hot tub and stuff.
I mean, hot tub is more like realistic. It's more practical, right? Like,
Okay.
Just in terms of like more frequent use. You know what I'm saying? Long day. Ah, man, the hard life. Let me go out to my. I think the pool is more social. Like, I think for somebody like obviously like us, we're young. It might make sense for like a social perspective to have a pool because you can always just like take a bath. You know, at the end of the day.
That's true.
So tomato. But either way, it's fine.
Hot tubs are old. Hot tubs
I'll show you this one spot in Charlotte I was looking at. I'm gonna send it to you. It's not built yet, but I called the developer over the weekend. Now this spot is fly. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Looking to move?
Say what?
We're looking to move?
Yeah, because I'm about to probably buy 2 properties, probably right around the same time. I found a short-term situation, like a spot that I could rent out the top long-term and then short-term rental the bottom at like a full complete basement, or we were gonna renovate it. And then I was gonna buy that to cash flow to pay for whatever the next house that I buy.
Interesting.
But anyways, let me show you this before we start real quick. And that one was 5.
Is it in Charlotte?
Yeah. That one was 525.
How much are you renting it for?
Well, you talking about the one that I want to renovate?
Yeah.
The one I want to renovate and rent out, I would probably rent that for like not even much. So the top part probably like 1,700.
Okay.
Or maybe even less than that. Because the mortgage on that particular one, the one that I want to live in is 525. The one I want to renovate is probably like 220. But it's gonna be super swank in terms of because the bottom is gonna be a short-term rental. So the way Airbnb works is you gotta kind of over decorate to be the unit that people want to book. Mm-hmm. But for the top part, we're gonna do that pretty nice too. So yeah. Because you own or you're renting the spot you live in?
I'm renting the spot that I live in.
Okay.
Cool. I'm trying to move back to Charlotte though.
So right now you're living in Georgia or Florida. Where are you living at now?
I'm in Concord.
Concord? You see something? Oh, you threw me off when you said you're trying to move back to Charlotte.
Yeah, I'm trying to move back to Charlotte because I'm trying to run for city council.
Oh, okay. Cool. I just sent it to you. It's only going to show you the concept mock-ups of it, the renderings, I should say. But, nigga.
This is nasty, though.
Yeah.
This is like the house from Invisible Man. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
I haven't. That wraparound balcony with the glass?
This is how it's actually going to look?
Yeah.
Where is this? This in Charlotte?
Mm-hmm. Charlotte on the come up, dog. Charlotte's on the come up.
Wow.
Yeah. So I saw you talking about the other house was like 700. I'm like, I saw this one for 575. I saw another one for 625. And now, granted, this one probably is comparable. Like this is comparable for sure. Yeah, but the one that I looked at that was 625 was not comparable to what you showed on your stories. But this definitely is comparable, obviously. But this is a rare find.
Yeah, you're not gonna find this in Charlotte.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get on, figure out what the deal is with that in terms of location. I think it says 28216, but I got to figure out exactly where that's at. In terms of like where
that's in the isn't that North Lake area?
Off the top of my head, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know.
No, I think it is.
I just called the developer, so I'm trying to get a pulse on that. I got my eyes on like 3 other joints, but I also feel like the market is still a seller's market right now, and probably until about maybe like May of next year. So I also kind of trying to like see if I have the stamina to wait it out a little bit
No, that makes sense.
But cool, man. All right, well, excited to have you on the show finally. Obviously you've been on the podcast or two. I see you're launching your own, so I'm pretty sure that you're not new to this, so you get how this goes.
No, for sure.
Let me just pull up these notes real quick. Kyle. There we go.
You got any rules to yours? Because I know different people have different things. Okay.
Man, I'm a free man, bro. You don't have too many rules. Nothing I can say or do that can cancel me. Or anybody else for that matter. All right, man. So what I do is I do the intros post-production. So we just gonna hop into it like we just heard the intro, and just get right to it. Because I'm gonna do the intro post-production.
Cool.
5, 4, 3, 2. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Uncensored Podcast. Today we got a special guest on the show. We got a guy that I've known seems like for much longer, but I think officially, what is it? 2-ish, 3-ish years?
3 years, bro.
3 years? Yeah, 3 years. Met him at the grand opening of another firm of a friend of mine who was affiliated with at the time. And, one thing led to another. And he asked me, could I mentor him? And at first I was like, no, in my mind. But I was like, this guy, he seems like a sharp guy. And we had lunch, and I guess arguably the rest is history. So with no further ado, Kyle King, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing amazing. First, before we even get started, it's a pleasure to be here. I think that, I love that you opened up with the authenticity at the beginning, that I reached out for you to be my mentor. And it's a privilege to be sharing, I guess, the stage or the mic with you right now.
Yeah. I mean, and, I think one of the things I can accredit a lot of your growth and success to is your humility and your willingness to learn and ultimately execute. I think now well, let me take that back. You've always been an executor, right? You'll write. How many books you got? Is it 6, 7?
7? Oh, yeah.
So you've always been an executor, but your willingness to just receive information and then in your own time, in your own way, apply it, because you're a leader amongst leaders, right? So for you to even have a desire to say, hey, let me reach out to this other guy, this other man, because men have a lot of ego typically, and say, hey, like, I believe there's some value that, you could probably lend to me as a man. And one of the things that we always said from the very beginning is it's always bigger than business, right? And so, maybe there were some things, or maybe there are some things that I can always offer you from a business standpoint, but most of our connection is rooted in just manhood and becoming a better human being. And so I just really am grateful to play a small role in that, and just to see your evolution here recently. I'm a person who can discern well, and even though we haven't talked every day, I can tell that who you are becoming is authentic, and it's good to see. So
I appreciate that, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, so for the shrinking population that does not know who the Kyle King is, tell us a little bit about who you are, man, and what you're all about.
Yeah. So before I even get into the actual titles, I'm first a man of God. I'm a father for a son that's getting ready to turn 5 on Saturday.
Carter, who I have yet to see in person.
I know, right? It's crazy. So I'm a 7-time author, entrepreneur, and now I'm helping aspiring authors and published authors learn how to magnify their voices and stories in order to leveraging digital systems to be successful.
Well, he got the messaging dialed in, don't he? Woo!
Got it. Got it.
Talk to him.
And I try to stay humble, coachable. And, one thing that I believe that, George has really been able to help me learn is that better people run better businesses. And, when I became more disciplined as a man, I was able to create a more disciplined and systematic business that have helped me scale other people's businesses as well.
I love it, man. I love it. So you mentioned before you got into the titles, man of God, father first, and you are a great dad, by the way. And so you're already a young man. So which means that if you have a 5-year-old, you became a father at a fairly young age. And so my question to you is, how did that shape your perspective on manhood and just like what life looked like from that point on? Because I feel like a lot of your grit, tenacity, and determination is rightfully so, is because you have a young man that's looking up to you every single day. So just tell us a little bit about how that shaped your experience, and even maybe take us back to when you got the news and how that made you feel, and how that got you to where you are right now.
Nah, for sure. So one thing that I do believe is that there's no success without a successor. And I think a lot of times we're so focused on passing down wealth and money, and you talk about it all the time. But one thing that you've taught me, and I've just learned, in general, is that it's one thing to pass down wealth; it's another thing to pass down integrity, and it's another thing to pass down character and values and morals to being able to sustain your family, not just being able to provide for your family. So I think having a son, when I got the news originally, it was, nerve wracking. It was, at the time disappointing because I felt like I wasn't ready and I wasn't the man that I wanted my son to, model after.
Mhm.
But soon it taught me, how to be patient, how to not only communicate the things to my son that I would want him to implement, but how do I become the things that I'm communicating to my son? And when I became a better man, in turn, I became a better father, and now I'm able to raise a better son.
100%. No, thank you for sharing that, because I know there's a lot of people out there, particularly men, right, who probably struggle with, identity, right? And it's like, okay, well, I want to show up in this way as a man, but internally, maybe I don't feel like I've arrived yet, or I'm that person yet. And how do I wrestle with that, and how do I reconcile with that? So just kind of curious on how that shaped your perspective.
Nah, for sure, man. I think so. 4 years ago or 3 years ago, excuse me, when you met me, I was living in a spare bedroom on an air mattress with a 1-year-old, bro. And that's the story that I don't think a lot of my Instagram followers or, just in general, mentees would even know.
Mhm.
So fast forwarding, I remember looking at him and remembering like, my circumstance at the time wasn't going to be my conclusion.
Right.
So I had to reach out to you. I had to, be humble enough because I felt humiliated at the time and embarrassed. So it's time to empower myself so that my son can see me go through this process of being developed into the man that I am today. So I fell in love with the process, and I look at myself today and look at myself where I was, and I'm more proud, and I'm able to really say that, I'm thankful because I recognized where I was, and that place pushed me to being where I am today.
Facts, facts. Which is a perfect segue. So you're no stranger to adversity, challenges, defeat, right? Just we all have experienced it on some level. And so tell us a little bit about, to the extent of which you're comfortable, a little bit about like just some of the journey and adversity, and really when the outside world sees this version of Kyle King, and it's like, man, like Kyle's the man, and people are leaning on you as this leader, but you internally are like, man, I got a lot going on, right? I'm
Yeah,
just
of
not where I
course.
want to be. Just share with us, like, number one, how do you reconcile with those feelings, and then maybe have a specific example, and then two, like, how did you ultimately overcome those challenges, or how do you overcome those challenges?
Nah, for sure. One thing that I've learned, and one of my mentors taught me this, is that there's no velocity without vulnerability, right? When I moved to Charlotte, it was with the intention of, getting married to my son's mother. And, we have a lot of times as people, we have all of these great plans and then they don't work out. And then we don't know how to bounce back.
Right.
And that happening, left me in a place of depression and anxiety because I wanted to be able to be this person that I knew Instagram saw me as. And
Mhm.
then I had to realize that my current reality wasn't the reality that I actually wanted. And I had to unlearn a lot of the perspectives that I had based upon previous experiences in my family growing up so that I could recreate my new expectations for my life. So
Mhm.
first you have to, when you're going through things, you have to first become aware of like, where is this feeling coming from? Is this my feeling, or is this an experience, or is this feeling from a previous experience or an expectation that has been put onto me? So
Mhm.
once I was more aware, then you recreate and actually take time to feel, take time to heal, and then you're actually able to recreate your life based upon your expectation. Now, when you're recreating your life based upon your expectation, you have to put systems in place, because I said that I wanted to be this dope man and this husband, but I'm still out here doing non-husband or non-dope man things.
Mhm.
And like I said earlier, I had to become a better man in order to be the picture that I wanted to be able to put out in the community. So adversity really just means that you're going through things that are preparing you for where you need to be. So I think a lot of people, you say a lot of people knew Kyle King, but I don't think really people took the time to. I allowed people to see Mr. King, the businessman, the entrepreneur, the 7-time author, but I never really allowed people to understand who Kyle was. And that's because I never took the time to understand who Kyle was. And
Mm.
there's so many times where, I portrayed this, oh, I got money, or I have this, or I have this, to blind people from the true realities of what I was dealing with inside, so that people never really needed to take the time to understand who I really was. So I think through that, I was able to really learn how to align what people portrayed and actually who I was. And now there's more of an authentic and vulnerable version of me that has propelled my success.
Love that. Love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for your transparency. So 7-time author, man. So like a lot of people, they have business. It's almost like, what's funny? Here's the irony, because you ran track growing up, right?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that like a lot of people growing up was like basketball, we got to run to practice. Football, we got to run for practice. Your sport is running. And I feel like in business, the same way, right? Like, people create content or blogs to complement or drive traffic back to the business. You're in the
Exactly.
business of writing, right?
Literally.
Nowadays in microwave society, micro content, I think the funny part is, I think books now more than ever have more credence and more credibility, because it's almost like in a culture full of junk food, real literary work is soul food, right? It's
Hmm.
like we're so inundated with sound bites and imagery, right? That now people have gotten away from. Too many people have gotten away from the real depth and value that you can extract in the intimacy from reading words on the page. And so you're still leaning into that 7 books later. And so my question to you is, at what point did Kyle wake up one day and say, I'm going to be an author, right? I'm going to be an author. Yeah. Tell us about that period.
That's a great question. So, I don't believe that I ever thought that I wanted to be an author.
Mhm.
I've always used writing as an opportunity to serve as therapy when I was battling through situations. And I've always been also used writing as, I've been a really great note taker. So anytime where I'm meeting with mentors, anytime where I'm, in class, I've always wanted to be present and take notes so that I could receive what I'm learning, and then I can go back to reflect. So whether it's therapy and using writing as an opportunity to journal or meditate or reflect on how my day went or how I'm feeling, or whether it's reflection in order to advance my career, I've always just wrote things down. And then once I started to learn that, look, this is a word count. You've been writing about mentors and you have, 60,000 words from just things that you've learned from other people. Why don't you share these different things with other people? Or when it's therapy and now people would reread my journal entries, it's like, wow, you've been through all of this, but I see the transition. All that is a story.
Mhm.
So once I got fired, because I got fired from my first job out of college, my book was all I had. And
Mhm.
interestingly, a lot of people don't understand this. So when I got fired, I lost my company car, computer. They didn't pay me out, until like the next paycheck and everything. And I was like stuck in my parents' house at the time, like with nothing. And I had all of these words on paper. 30 days later, I leveraged pre-sales, and then I sold 1,000 copies in 30 days to generate $20,000. At that point, I became an author really quickly.
Mhm.
So what I want people to understand is that a lot of times we have all of these thoughts and all of these different things that we never really execute on.
Mhm.
Like, I just believe that just put it out, and then so you could literally close out your thought and then move to the next thing. So a lot of times we're operating in spaces where we're still talking about or thinking or reflecting about things that were never written down or
Mhm.
were never really dealt with. We can never move into the next season of our lives until we close out the thoughts, the reflections, or the experiences of the things that have already passed. So my thing is the knowledge that I learned when I met you, that's in a book and it's already done. So now I'm able to receive when you're now talking about the DARES model and systems and evergreen and all these different things now, because my business is now at the point where we're available or ready to scale. So anybody who now touches me and needs something that I wrote in step one, I have a book for that. Now I don't have to give them my time. So I've put a system in place through writing books. So in each stage of your business or in each stage of your life, I have text for you to read instead of you now wanting to deal with me. Because if you want to deal with me, now it comes with a cost.
Big costs. Big money energy. Young Kyle King.
Word.
Man, I just think, yeah, that's super dope. And I can't wait to read. As a matter of fact, so you don't think I'm flexing, where I put it? I'll put it over there. I had your book out actually the other day because I've read all of them, by the way. All the ones that I have. It's got both of the mission plans.
I got to get you the new ones.
Yeah, but incredibly proud of you, man. I think there's something to be said that just seems so, I don't know, timeless, I think is the word that comes to mind about a book, right? I mean, even me, I have a podcast, right? But I still need to write a book. I've done everything but write. Kyle's probably gonna be on my ass after this podcast.
I'm telling you.
But actually, I'm gonna talk to you about it off the record when we get off this podcast. But it's something just so, and I think that's part, because I do things integrity and I do things the right way. I think part of the reason why I've not written my book yet, besides making an excuse, is that I feel like I want that to be, it's just something about it seems so permanent. Like I know that you can come out with the different editions, but when I release it, like I want that thing to be like, perfect. But I know that's not the right way to think, because I preach the opposite when it comes to like building a business. So I'm gonna get it 2021. We're gonna make it happen.
For sure.
I'm personally responsible for making it happen.
So I think like you've been challenging me for years, so I'm gonna challenge you real quick. So
okay.
I want you to walk me through the process of tying your shoe. If you're about to put on your sneakers right now or your shoes, I want you to walk me through the process of tying your shoe.
I guess I'd kneel down a little bit, tie a loop, make a knot, and then pull it through, I guess. I mean, that's how you tie your shoes, right?
And how do you know that your shoe is ready and then you're able to move forward?
After you finish tying the knot, you just start walking.
Exactly. And that's the same process with a book. See, I think a lot of people listening, and you just said it, like, I have to make it perfect. But literally writing a book and getting it to where it's perfect is literally like tying a knot. It's a process that you take people through. If you understand the desired outcome at the front end, and you understand, like, look, I'm putting this shoe on, and then I have to tie the knot so that I can move forward and not trip or not fall or the shoe not be loose. It's the same process with the book. You understand what's the outcome that I want at the beginning, and then you're able to actually write the process. You're writing a process which would serve as your story to be able to get your reader from point A to point B of the result. So just like you have different financial literacy programs and wealth management programs, you're assessing, all right, this is the first step that we'll take before we're getting to this next step. And then it's this next step because this is the result. So all you would literally be doing is tying the shoe on how to get somebody from that point to that point, because you would know when it's done.
Fair enough. Well, the good news is I have this guy that I know who's written 7 whole books. So I don't want to hear no excuses when I knock on his door to help me get this thing done.
Nah, you got it, man. Whatever you need.
I already know. You always ask me that question, so I have an answer for you. What can I do for you? Kyle's a servant leader. So I got an answer for you, buddy. That's the good news. I got an answer for you.
There it is.
But no, good stuff. So we are, as of this recording, and this will go live, I think, next week. We drop every Friday, as you know. What are you most excited about in 2020? And I want to confirm something that I think is true. A lot of people have been wanting to cancel 2020. It's like, oh, it's been a bad year. But everybody that's a part of my ecosystem, when 2020, at least financially, has been their best year yet. Almost across the board for everybody that I'm personally connected to. So I'm curious, what is your perspective on 2020 before we talk about what you're most excited about as we close out the year?
I think my perspective on 2020 was this was the year that and this may be a stretch, but I believe that this was the year that God forced people to look in the mirror. And I say that from this perspective. 2020 was the year where everything was shut down. Businesses were shut down, malls were shut down, clubs were shut down. You couldn't go to certain places. All of those distractions that force you not to deal with who you are, not to deal with the person that you really didn't like, to really reassess the people around you, your network of individuals, to really start that business or use an excuse not to start that business, to really see how good you were as an educator or how really you weren't really good at, being able to educate people. All of those different things, sitting still was the perspective that I gained, because I think I've had a lot of pots on the stove always. But when I started operating in the space of like operating in the one thing, I've really been able to 10x my revenue this year. And I've been able to really be more happy. This is the happiest that I've been. This is the most revenue that I've been able to generate. And I honestly believe that I've been able to cultivate a solid relationship with my son, his mom, my parents. Like, I've spent quality time with the people that deserve that quality time. So I've used it. This year has been dope. It was the year of being present with yourself in order to actually create the things that you've been talking about that you actually never did.
Love it. Love it. All right. So Kyle, how old are you now? 27?
28.
28. Okay, man, time is flying. I always used to remember you be like 26. I'm like, man, you're like 26?
No.
Okay, so 28. Okay, now looking back over the experiences, you still have a lot more room to grow, which is a phenomenal thing because you've accomplished a lot you had your best year yet this year. But the good news is you still have more room to go. But that being said, if you think about what you've been able to get to at this point, if you were looking back at the Kyle that I met a couple of years ago, what advice would you give him for the journey that he's about to embark on?
Wow. The advice that I would give my old self is learn how to say no and stop being so accessible to the things that can't affirm your success. And why I say that is when you are accessible to everyone, it devalues what you actually bring to the table. So one thing that I did a lot is say yes to everything. And every time you say yes to everything, you're saying no to the things that you actually need to be doing.
Correct.
So I think that would be the advice, or that would be the suggestion or the charge that I would tell, not even just to my old self, to anybody that's in their 20s and that millennial group, is when you begin to say no, like really say no to certain things that cannot advance you, you begin to really open up the opportunity of advancement and saying yes to things that you never knew that you could have had.
100%. 100%. I love that. So I know currently you mentioned it because I gave you credit for how dialed in your messaging was. You have kind of a program that you have now that helps aspiring authors or even maybe existing authors who haven't figured out how to get those books off the shelf, right? I remember it was yesterday, if you don't mind me sharing, it was like, you were like, man, I've executed on all these things. I got all these books and I'm like, I need to be moving more of them, right? Quite frankly. And we had a conversation. I was like, hey, like, try this. And then from there, I feel like the flame, and you took it much further than what I gave you, but like from there, like I started getting the emails. I started like, yo, he got the landing page, he got the arrows. Like, my man's is lit. And I think from that moment on, you just doubled down on you in the process. But again, share us a little. I mean, I think that probably was the emergence of what you ultimately were able to create for other people because you got the results and then created a program. But tell us a little bit about, I guess, maybe a little bit about that process, that journey, and then ultimately what that led you to create and what you have available for the marketplace right now.
So even before we get to that, I just want to give a quick plug. So, George had me, he held me accountable through this process. And this was like right when COVID hit. So George was he made me send my activity goals and my achievements every single day, literally every single day. And some of the days he didn't respond, but it was really for me. And he said, until you make $1,000 a week consistently, you're going to continue to do that. That same system that he helped me implement now generates me about $25,000 to $30,000 a month. So I think that accountability, strategy, and systems from the right person can really be able to advance your business and just being able to advance your life. So I just want to first thank you for that. So I've always been that author. For sure. So I've always been that person. Let's just rewind. So when I launched my first book, it took me a while to actually launch it before I actually launched it because insecurity, I didn't feel like I was worthy enough, I didn't feel like I had enough experience, all of these different doubts. Once I actually launched it, I turned it up with 1,000 pre-sales, 30 days, $20,000, and then reinvested all that into a business. And then the rest is history, right? But then through that, it's kind of like you lose your momentum. And then you're sitting, books on the shelf and you're not really doing anything. You're not really getting speaking engagements. It's kind of like your books at the beginning when you were excitement now turn into like really cool art pieces on a bookshelf in your home just to say like, hey, I'm dope. I have multiple books. So I put this program together first to teach people how to write books, because leaving the educational system, my first thought was, look, a lot of educators have a lot to say, but school systems won't allow them to say it. So I wanted to be able to create a program to teach educators how to leverage their experiences in the classroom to create books that can generate revenue and make more than $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, right? Because now as a business, we're generating that a month. So what I started to realize from a business perspective is that now educators, if you're selling a high ticket program, they didn't have the revenue to be able to pay for it. So I had to expand my niche a little bit. So I expanded my niche to speakers, consultants, professionals, entrepreneurs that had an experience or some type of skill set. And then I helped them leverage how to write your books in under 30 days. And literally how to write it, I provided them with a calendar and a writing schedule. So people were literally publishing their books in under 30 days. So then I'm like, all right, George has me, he taught me this strategy, and then I'm started reading Russell Brunson and all of these different things. So I just started to just plug and play, and I'm using my own experience as this, I'm the guinea pig. So I'm taking myself through all of these different ways of selling books. So then I'm selling like 250 books a week. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, we have something here. So now I need to matriculate and transition the people that were in this, what I call a PM30 program, and create an author selling system, because now I know many authors that aren't moving books. 70 million books are published every single year, but of those books published, usually authors on average sell 250 books for the lifetime of a book. I was doing that weekly on the same books just by a system. So then I created a 6-step system for current authors to be able to sell their books literally on autopilot, using digital systems, drop shipping, how to leverage contracts, influencer marketing. And if we could talk about strategies, I'll give them the game on here.
Oh yeah, hey, look, go for it.
Yeah, for sure. So like people don't understand, like your network is literally like, everybody says your net worth, but literally leveraging your current relationships serve as assets. So a quick tap model for any published author out here, or any author that's getting ready to launch a book: identify 3 things, your tiers, and that's the T, it's the tap model. So your tiers are, where is your ideal customer? Where is your ideal reader? Where is that person that you would want to get this book in front of in some type of system? It could be conferences, trade shows, it could be corporations, businesses, schools. Where does that identify? So the tier 1 is the closest to your ideal market. Tier 2 is like a little bit closer, but not like right there. And then tier 3 is like your market could be there, but it's a toss up. Then you want to be able to understand your assets. That's the A of the TAP model. So your assets are your personal relationships, professional relationships, clients, past clients, anybody that you're connected to that can directly or indirectly, or could be 1 degree further or closer to whoever you're trying to get in touch with. Then you want to be able to put a process in place. So look, I got a book right here. So this book right here, Average Sucks by Michael Burnoff, say this was my book, right? What I can do, step 1 is to write a letter and identify this top 100 list on the tier 1, 2, 3. I want you to write a letter. I want you to get your book. I want you to print your book. And then I want you to ship your book to each individual person on that contact list that's a decision maker. And then I want your assistant, even if you don't have an assistant, get a friend to do it, to reach out to that person in 3 days and say, hey, did you get the book? And in the actual book, I want you to bookmark a page specific to the content that that conference or that trade show or that corporation needs. So you're providing them with free value. You get books wholesale at $2. It takes $2.83 to ship the media mail. So literally $5 per transaction. You send 100 books, you can get booked to speak for $1,000 or $2,000 each. So I've literally been able to lock in my whole spring calendar in 2021 and speaking engagements just from leveraging my book as a value add. So that's just one quick strategy for y'all.
A bar. All bars, no charge. All bars, no charge. I love it.
Sure.
That's dope. Well, folks, well, let me ask you this. So you just gave game, right? You just provided value. So now inevitably, someone listening to this podcast is gonna be like, I gotta tap in with Kyle King if I want to get my book out there. So where can people find you, or what is the current offer that you have so that people can, if they want to write their book in 30 days, how can they do that? How can they find you to get that done?
Nah, for sure. So I'm offering a free masterclass off for people that are struggling with creating their idea or writing their story. This masterclass will literally take you through the 5 steps that I've used to be able to write so many books so quickly and then coach dozens of other authors. And that's publishmein30.com. So publishmein30.com. And then if there's a current author out there that's having some struggles with actually writing or publishing your book, or not even publishing, but promoting your book or profiting off of your book, then I need you to go to www.authorsellingsystem.com as well. And I have a 6-step e-guide that's completely free. I'm going to give you a free value that I want you to tap into as well, so that you can learn strategies that I use, how to, identify your avatar, how to investigate potential pain points in a specific niche, how to brand yourself on social media, and then the exact systems that I use, from sales copy, sales funnels, and then how do you turn your book into a revenue generating opportunity. So that's authorsellingsystem.com. And then I can be reached on kylesking.com if you want to, be more, connected, so that I can give you some strategies as well.
Oh, now I'm glad you changed your name to your name on Instagram. That was a really good decision.
Man, look, man. I like how you did that. So look, man, George put me on game, man, because he was saying, you're going to change brands. You're going to, grow as a business. You're the brand, not just my book or not just what you're currently doing right now. And I think I've seen so much transition as an entrepreneur, but I'm an entrepreneur. I'm Kyle S. King. I'm not this specific name out there, because your name may change, but your name on your birth certificate will never change.
100%.
Most of us.
Well, this was a lot of value, a lot of game, a lot of gems, as I expected. And so the final question that I ask all of my guests is, what does it mean to you to live life uncensored?
That's a great question. It means freedom. I mean, that's one word. I think when I was out here trying to live society's dreams, school's dreams, my parents' dreams, I wasn't able to design the life that I wanted and that was meant for me. And I think you are not just what you eat, you are what you eat eats, in a sense. So if I eat steak, but that steak is filled with feces, then I don't care if I spent $150 on a steak at Ruth Chris, I've now put feces in my body. Right. So when I began to redesign my environment, I began to redesign my life, I began to set expectations, all from being authentically uncensored, so that I could be the best version of who I am, so that I could serve my clients better, serve my son better, and serve God the best that I can as well.
And there you have it, folks. Well, man, thank you so much for all the game, all the value, and everybody that's listening. Until next time.